Greetings, fellow trumpet players. This is a little funny. Well, maybe not funny, but funny in a kind of irritating sense. This is my fourth attempt to make this warm-up video. Each time there was something wrong with it and I couldn't go forward. So we're going to try this one more time. Today we're talking about how to do a warm-up. We're talking about my way of doing a warm-up. Well, that's kind of obvious, but I want to emphasize that fact right now just because there are other warm-ups up there, other warm-up philosophies out there, and I know that mine is different. What I'm teaching you is specifically what I teach and what I do for myself. And I would encourage you to learn other warm-ups and other philosophies. And then out of all of that, choose for yourself what works best for you. Okay, we are all different, and what we need is different. So I encourage you to do that. My last video on warm-up had to do with the difference between a warm-up and a routine. So I encourage you to watch that video if you haven't yet, because it has a little bit of bearing on what we're doing here today. And so to me, the way I decide which one I'm going to do is based on how much time do I have to do it. If I have anything less than 10 minutes to practice a routine, then I won't do a routine, I will do a warm-up instead. The structure for both is the same. I use the exact same structure. We're going to look at that structure real soon. But the structure is the same. What changes is how much I can do in a certain amount of time. So yeah, if I have less than 10 minutes, I'm going to do the warm-up that I'm showing you today. Something else to keep in mind is that I improvise this warm-up. I do not have a set of exercises. I do have a set order that I follow, but I improvise it. And the reason I improvise it is because if the time I have is less than 10 minutes, then typically that means that it's probably not going to be exactly 10 minutes. It might be as short as 2 minutes. And if I'm going to improvise my way through all of this, I can get that entire warm-up done in 2 minutes. So let's take a look at the structure. We're going to start always with an air exercise. We're going to do LIPAs, which some people call free buzz. And I have a video on that, and we'll put that link to that video on what LIPAs, how to do a LIPAs. And then we're going to do the mouthpiece placement exercise after the lip buzz. And I also have a video on that one, so we'll put a link for that too. Then we're going to do the mouthpiece buzz, which is just like lip buzz, but on the mouthpiece. And then we're going to do long tones. We're going to do scales. We're going to do flexibility. And this time I'm calling it flexibility because I do not do lip slurs in my warm-up. We'll talk about that. I'll explain it when we get to that part. And then we're going to do pedal tones. We're going to do articulation studies. We're going to do intervals. We're going to do multiple tongue. And then we'll end it with something melodic, which is kind of redundant because we're playing melodic anyway. If we're improvising melodies. And so it is a little redundant, but we're going to do it anyway. All right? I do it anyway. So let's go through this warm-up real quick. The air, we want to do 3 exhales and 2 inhales. I call it an air exercise. We're not talking about breathing exercises. I don't do breathing exercises. Breathing focuses on the inhale. Air exercises focus on the exhale. Okay? So what we're going to do is 3 exhales with 2 quick inhales between. All right? And I'm going to do it first on my fist. I like doing it on the fist because I can change the resistance. If I want to make it a faster warm-up, I will open up and let more air out. If I want it to be a longer warm-up, I can close the fist and make it the exhale last longer. Now we want the breath in between the 3 exhales to be spontaneous and no obstruction whatsoever. We don't want to hear the breath. We don't want to hear or anything like that. Okay? We want the breath to come in so quick. And my last trumpet teacher taught me to think of it as a sharpshooter, right? From the Wild West. They draw and shoot. Draw and shoot. He used to say that. Okay? And that's what we want to do in this exercise. We want to breathe out and then draw and shoot with the air. So it looks like this on the fist. Now you heard some air coming in, but we want to avoid that as much as possible. Make everything as big in your throat as possible so that all that air comes in without any resistance. So this is an alternative to the fist. We can, if we want. It's the same exact exercise, but we're going to blow in the back end of the mouthpiece. All right. All right, next we want to do LIPAs, and we want to improvise a melody when we're doing this. This is LIPAs. This is without the mouthpiece. It goes something like this. Now, if my warm-up is only going to be 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I won't do that much lip buzz. All right. After that, we're going to do the mouthpiece placement exercise. It's a little weird right now because I have my mustache is a little bit in the way. So this is what the mouthpiece placement looks like. We want to sustain a buzz, place the mouthpiece on the buzz, lift it back off again, and put it back on. We want to do at least 3 of those. Oh, then we want to do the mouthpiece buzz. Same thing. We're improvising a melody. Now, after that, we're going to do long tones. Now, since we're improvising melodies, these are going to be sort of like Conconi studies. And I want to point out a few things before we start that. No tonguing. You can tongue the beginning of a phrase, but don't tongue the rest of it until you run out of air and start a new phrase, okay? No tonguing. No vibrato. No exaggerated phrasing. Normally, I don't do any phrasing on my routine. This is not the routine, though. So, but to stick to that structure, we want to avoid overly dramatic, exaggerated expressions in our routine and our warm-up, okay? So nothing wide and flowing and operatic or anything like that. We want it to really be more about the delivery of the air than about expression. So, and I don't have time to go into why we do that here in this video. Maybe a video in the future will do that. So here are improvised long tones. Okay, that's what we're looking for. After we do the long tones, we're going to do scales. Oh, that's another thing I didn't mention earlier. We want to do all of this in one key because we're doing the tonalization studies, but in an improvised fashion. And I'll have to make a video about what the tonalization studies are. It's a form of scales that I use with my students, and I've been practicing this way since the early 80s. So yeah, the tonalization study concept is one that says instead of doing all your scales every day, do one scale, one key for that whole day. I'm talking about in your exercises. Now, when you're practicing music, that's a different issue, but the tonalization studies are scales that we practice in a more submerged way. We're enveloped in that key for an extended period of time, and by doing that, the scale rubs off on us a little bit more. And so when we're doing a warm-up, we're going to pick a key and stay in that key throughout. In this case, I chose 1 flat and the key of F. That's why I did that, the key of F. Ooh, sorry. So we're going to now improvise melodic stuff, but with patterns, scale patterns mixed in. Something like that. And next we're going to do flexibility. And I call it flexibility in this context because I'm not going to do lip slurs. The routines have plenty of lip slurs in them. And if I'm doing a quick improvised warm-up, I would rather do something in that key again, but with more intervals in it. Something like that. And then I would gradually make the intervals wider. Okay. After that, we want to do some pedal tones. And I like to use, for this context, for a warm-up, we want to use all 3 valves. There are other fingerings. We use different fingerings for different reasons. And in the context of a warm-up, I think the best thing to do is to do all valves down. All right, something like that. Then we're going to go from there to articulation. Same deal. We're going to keep the key with 1 flat. Now we're going to go from 4 notes per slur, and we'll gradually work our way till we're tonguing every note. All right, after that, we're going to do tongued intervals. Something like that. I try to avoid making these things sound like exercises. I want to do something melodic. From there, we're going to go to multiple tongue, double tongue, triple tongue. If you haven't done multiple tongue before, then we want to just use this time to just get the K to work a little bit. And I believe in doing that. I won't go into the reason why, but even if you won't even be using double tongue in your performance or your rehearsal or whatever, I still believe in ending the exercise part of the warm-up with the K tongue. So if you've never done double tongue before, just practice the K. That's all that was with just the K tongue. Otherwise, if you already do double tongue some melodic stuff. So if you can only double tongue one note at a time, that's a great way to do it. Otherwise, you can do scales. Something like that. All right, so now at the very end, I always like to end with something melodic. In this case, it's a little redundant because we've been doing melodic improvisation the whole way. Now we're just going to do some more melodic improvisation, but this time it's without any objective. The other stuff we did, there was an objective for each one of those stages of the warm-up. Now we're going to do it with no objective and just be creative. This is a very important part of the process. All right, so that's the warm-up. And you can imagine, because it's all improvised, you could really do that as one string from one part of the routine to the next. And I use the word routine, but that same structure is in the routine. So one part of the warm-up to the next could be just a continual melodic improvisation from the beginning of the warm-up to the end. That's what I said. It's a beautiful way to do a warm-up. And so, yes, that's my warm-up. If you have any questions, ask in the comments, please. And I'm more than happy to answer your questions. If you have comments, if you think I'm totally nuts for doing it this way, go ahead and say that too, because I like learning from other people, and that's how you learn. Okay? So, God bless you guys. This has been a good video. I'm enjoying doing these videos for you. If you have other videos you'd like to hear, go ahead and put that in the comments too. And anyway, so God bless you. I'll see you on the next video. Thank you very much.